Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to the newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Michael from Tactica Imperialis, and
Hello.
joining us...
Sorry.
Hello. And joining us once again this week, the dynamic duo of Snipe and Wib.
Hello!
Hi!
On your channel this time.
Yes.
It's always been on mine.
Yeah,
So we get a
sorry
chance to
about
turn
that.
it in... That's alright. We get a chance to turn it into the Ian Watson and Battenberg Appreciation Podcast.
Absolutely.
We have too much to cover, Remleiz. We have too much to cover.
There's always
Yeah.
time for Ian Watson. I can't believe I just said that. I'm sorry.
There's always time for Battenberg.
Okay, that's too far.
So, in the news this week, as you probably know, there is an absolute lot of it because it was the Warhammer Open Day this weekend.
Yep, it was the New Year Open Day, so Happy New Year. It is the first episode of 2019. And we're going to mainly stick to 40k because we have something special lined up for the next episode where we'll do a lot more Age of Sigmar. Sorry, people who don't like Age of Sigmar. But we have a lot of stuff come out of the New Year's Open Day today, and a bunch of other stuff that happened before that as well, but we'll get to that.
So, what shall we talk about first? Because, do we talk about the Necromunda stuff, the Blackstone stuff, or the 40k tabletop stuff?
Let's start with Gene Stealer cults.
Yes!
Yes, a lot more new Gene Stealer cult models, including a new female Magus model, and what looks like to be an assassin model, and some guy with a megaphone, and...
Some guy with, like, DJ decks.
Yes.
I like he's doing, what's it they refer to it as? The kids TM? The doing the scratching? The mad scratching?
He's doing the mad scratchings for he is...
Wiki wah wah kind of
He
thing.
is...
DJ Hybrid.
Yes,
Yep,
DJ
that's the
Hybrid.
boy. He's up in the club.
He's going to break it down for the kids. I basically don't know anything about what DJs do. The last time I kind of experienced that was like Limp Bizkit, so, you know, I don't know what's happening anymore.
That's a long time ago.
I know.
He's very old.
Yeah, these four characters are described as civilian revolutionary. So we've got an assassin, a Vox hacking technician, which is, I'm assuming, DJ Hybrid in the corner. We've got some dude who's basically trying to be his best Inquisitor impression.
Yep.
And we've got someone who probably will conspire many Eldari conversions if it's not being used for Gene Stealer cults. I can see a lot of Elven and Eldari armies just taking that model and running with it. I really can.
Well, I mean, to be fair, let's just say there's not exactly the greatest selection of female models in 40k, so anyone that gets made is going to be converted for everything.
True. And the whole back hood collar thing reminds me a lot of the Ideneth range, actually. And the greave on the boots remind me of the Daughters of Cain, so
I get that, yeah.
Conversion potential. And we get another look. We get the names of the bikes and the vehicle. Well, of the bikes anyway. The Atalan Jackals and the Jackal Alphas is the sniper. So we get their names at last.
Sounds like a Mad Max post-apocalyptic gang name.
Well, I mean, they kind of look
little
like that,
bit.
so...
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah. And then the Tectonic Frag Drill, the ginormous mining piece scenery that they've got.
Oh, that looks gorgeous. That really does.
I just kind of want that. I don't even necessarily want to use that in play. I just want to put that on my coffee table and just basically bug anyone who isn't into 40k whenever they come round.
If I had that, I'd have to paint it yellow, though, so it looks like the mole from Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
Good one. Good. I like it.
I hope that the way they mount it onto the framework is that it can actually slide. I hope it. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but I hope that they can do it.
It'd be nice, but looking at the way it's attached, I don't think they'll be able to do that without having like a proper mechanism in there, and that's sort of beyond the scope of 40k miniatures generally.
I don't know. Give it a week. Someone will modify it.
Oh yeah. But
Someone will like
The
magically
flashing lights and
make it.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gene Stealer cults will probably be the next release once the Gloomspike Gits for Age of Sigmar have had their fun. We'll get to those very briefly. Once they've had their fun, I think the Gene Stealer cults will be next after that, and then we'll get probably something else that got revealed at the open day, probably the Skaven box game. Well, that's just my opinion. We'll see, because Gene Stealer cults have been bumped back, I think, one too many times. I'd have put them before the Gloomspite, but I think they were just revealed too early. So the hype kind of died down for them just a tad.
I mean, in the trailer it says early 2019, which could mean anywhere between now and March, I guess.
Well, we know that the Gloomspite are this week and next are the pre-orders for Gloomspite. So that's the week we're recording. That's the day we're recording. The Gloomspite went up on pre-order, and the next week we know is Gloomspite again. We've now seen all the models for them. So I think after that we'll move into Genestealer Cult prep, and maybe they'll sneak something in between, like maybe Titan Death for Titanicus, which is a good thing to move on to.
I'm actually kind of surprised that it's taken this long for Genestealer Cults to actually be looked at, considering they had the Tooth and Claw box set. Like it.
Yeah.
4 months? 3 months?
Yeah, it sort of feels like they should have had their codex and everything, well, and had all this extra stuff, like, before then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Tooth and Claw was fine, but the problem was they revealed the bikers and stuff. Either they got leaked or they got revealed too early. So there's been about a month or 6 weeks where we've known about something with Genestealer Cults, and there's been something just kept coming out in front of them, whether it was Vigilus, Chapter Approved, now Gloomspite. I feel like they could have done with being one release slot earlier, in my opinion.
I'm just surprised that the Genestealer Cults managed to get so many new models. Like, because you had the Abominant, the Bikers, the quad bike guy, the Gunslinger dude, which I think he's called, the Kellamorph? The cowboy?
Double check.
Yeah, I absolutely love that model. So that's just so rad. Let's make a cowboy hat, and it'll basically be my Genestealer McCree.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have 6 new heroes, plus a vehicle, plus a bike. No, 6 new heroes. Got the 4 new ones from today, plus the Kellamorph, plus the Abominant.
What about the one that's got Warhammer Worlds on his little hollow thing as well?
Oh, yeah.
And that, and the Biker Alpha, which I'm assuming is going to be a hero. So that's 9. That's 9 characters, if everything we think is a character is a character.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be fair, like, a lot of when they've redone the lines, or at least the little tweaks they do every time a new codex comes out, a lot of them have been very basic because they've just been getting on top of the backlog from 8th edition coming out. So I guess every now and again there's one that they're like, oh yeah, we actually don't have much done for them. Because I guess the Genestealer Cults don't have the hugest line because it's still relatively new. So in the grand scheme of 40k,
And a lot of them, I think, will be like the Orcs. They'll get shoved into elites because, like, Pain Boys, Mech Boys, and stuff live in elites as opposed to HQ in the Orc Codex. Although this is 2 codices straight, where we've got a swathe of releases because the Orcs got all their bike stuff.
Yeah,
which is a nice change.
Well, I mean, I guess also they've gone through all the Space Marine stuff, which are like the easiest ones to put out because a lot of them have just had an upgrade kit, and that's about it.
Yeah. That's true enough. That's true enough.
Well, at least there's enough Primaris Lieutenants, for every chapter now.
I don't mind the Primaris Lieutenants. I just kind of wish they had a bit more variance in what the armour actually looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Kellamorph, that brings us to the next item in the news, which is Kill Team Arena.
Yep, a competitive expansion for Kill Team because clearly Warhammer Underworlds was selling. I know that's a little bit cynical, but I'm probably not that wrong.
It's a business that they literally operate on hardened cynicism. It
is, but it's interesting that looking at the board that they've shown off, they're actually going to be making, rather than using regular boards and putting scenery on them, this looks more like a Zone Mortalis board. So they'll be doing Space Hulk fighting, underground fighting, and like close confines stuff for that, as well as a new kill zone to allow you to fight on the Sector Fronteris, so you can have cowboy duels. Yes, Snipe. So they're really doubling down on Kill Team, which is really good to see, because obviously, as I say, Night Vault and Underworlds is really pushed and done well. There's an article in the New White Dwarf about it, and talking about the competitiveness of board layout in Underworld. So they're really pushing on this, giving them people who play the main series games a competitive outlet without making the main series games all about ultra competitive, which is a really good thing in my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I cannot stand competitive play. as a general rule. I'm just not wired for it, so I don't care.
It's interesting.
I will say the board for the Kill Team Arena, the underground one, that really...
With the little doors.
Yeah, that
Smacks of Space Crusade.
Well, I mean...
Because you got the same kind of doors in Space Crusade.
Specifically, what it really reminds me of is the Necromunda Underhive board.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very similar. Especially given the doors and the sort of general coloration of it, which is, a similar kind of orangey kind of vibe going to it. So just when I looked at it, like in my brain just triggered, oh, that's Necromunda Underhive, and it's like, oh no, actually it's this. Okay.
I mean, could you play Necromunda on it?
Presumably.
Yeah, that could be an interesting alternate board layout for Necromunda if you didn't have the terrain to build up.
Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting speaking about your point about competitive, because White Dwarf has had a massive revamp this month, and it's actually really, really impressive.
Yeah, I picked it up. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Index Astartes is back. There's a set of Crimson Fist rules. There's going to be some Stormcast ones next month, I think. There's a bunch of painting articles, a couple of short stories, and so on and so forth. But the battle report that's in there is 2 competitive 40k players slugging it out. And the Imperium and Eldari armies that they've got are just like... The Imperium one is 2 Captain Smashhammers, 3 Knights, a Guard detachment, and Mephiston.
Yeah.
Ugh. And the Eldari one is 3 Flyers, about 14 Jet Bikes, Dart Reapers, and then some random Drakari to make up the numbers.
Why am I imagining some random Platoon flashbacks here?
What?
You've not seen Platoon, have you?
No.
You're so young.
Yes.
So
young sweet
so
boy. Although now I want to modify a Catachan to look like Willem Dafoe.
What, just like with arms up in the air going, no, I wanted pictures of Spider-Man! Or whatever it is he says.
Yes, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I can't get you Spider-Man, but I can get you Spider-Grot.
Get me Spider-Grot.
Ah, yes. That was a good
Perfect
segue, by the way. Well done.
Very good, nice one.
Beautiful segue. So yes, as we mentioned a little earlier, the Gloomspite Gits are the newest Age of Sigmar faction, combining the Moon Clan, the Spider-Fang, the Troggoths, and the Gargants, and they have got a bunch of lovely-looking miniatures coming their way, particularly new Squigs, new Trolls, new Endless Spells, and... yeah, just wow.
I really like that new Troggoth hero, the one that's got the big stone club and the little spider dangling from him. He's going like, oh, it's a spider.
Dankhold Trog boss, I believe it is.
He's very dank.
I'm looking forward to seeing people use these in like Grot Rebellion armies.
Yes.
I just want to see more of those. Yeah, Squig Knights. I just want to see more of those.
And I'm glad we finally got like a nice set of plastic squigs.
Yeah.
Because of course those are going to have a whole extra life being brought into 40k armies, because as the token, the token orc player.
Hey.
Fair. But yeah, I've always wanted more squigs, because basically we've had you could take the ones from the Runthead kit. And you could take the hand off, rebuild the backing on them, and that was
then you had Gruk Face Ripper has a squig, I think.
Yeah, but for the moment we've had like really limited abilities to actually do things with squigs, even just if you want to have, say, one on a base, or say put one in a truck or whatever, just as a little bit of detail.
Flavour.
Whereas now it's like, oh yeah, this is just a huge pack of plastic squigs that you can do a bunch with, have fun.
Yeah. The squigs themselves, like the individual squig herd, some of them look great, like the one with a grot sandwiched in it.
Yeah, that one's great.
Hilarious. I'm more fussed for the squig hoppers, just because the idea of grot lancers on squigs is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like the boss version with the extra faceplates, but the Mangler squigs. Oh, the Mangler squigs.
Yeah, the giant ones. Yeah, they're great.
The giant squigs look gorgeous. So I will probably end up with an army of these guys, because I've been looking for an excuse to play Destruction for a long time, because apart from one who's got like a small amount of ogres, none of us really play Destruction, and I've already got 2 Order armies, so I was looking for something a little bit less organised and more crazy, but I don't like chaos. So this just ticked all of my boxes, and I've loved the Arachnarok Spider ever since it came out in like 2013.
Oh, that's a fun model.
Always loved the Arachnarok.
But yeah, I am waiting to see, as say, like, to bring out people to do Grot Rebellion armies using these things, just because they're like one of those things that I've always loved and have always wanted an excuse to make. Like, I'd have it as like a secondary part to my like main orc army, and there's loads of stuff here that you could easily use to proxy stuff in to fill in the things that you didn't have.
And since Kill Team has just had the Kroot added in as part of White Dwarf, they now have a Kroot Kill Team. What about a Rebel Grot Kill Team?
Oh, that'd be rad. Yes.
Because I remember people trying to work out how to do full Grot kill teams, and they were like, "Well, I mean, you hit the unit cap really quickly,
Really?
because all you can really have is Grots, and then you're like,
Yeah, that was the problem. Sticking with Age of Sigmar for a second, there's a new box game on the way, which is going to be called Carrion Empire, which is Flesh Eater Court with a new hero, and Skaven with a new hero. The first Doom Rocket we've ever seen. Doom Rockets have existed since about 2010, and we've now actually seen a Doom Rocket.
Oh, so they're one of those like Thunderwolf cavalry deals where they were in the rule book for years and years and years, and then they were like, we should probably make a model of that sometime.
Welcome to pretty much every single unit from second edition.
Fair.
So yeah, got Flesh Eaters versus Clan Scryer, and both of them will be getting more stuff down the line, so we'll talk about that in a future episode when we get more information, I am sure. Moving on, Adeptus Titanicus gets an expansion, and it needed it.
Yes, talking about Titan Death, which is basically about the novel of the same name, Beta Garman, so big Titan fights. Which you expect from, Adeptus Titanicus, let's be bloody honest.
Agreed. Beta Garman, for those who don't know their lore, is the classed as the gateway to the Sol system. It was Horus's last mustering ground before the Solar War began. So if there is anything that's not in Titan Death that's in this Titan Death, that will be good to see.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be confusing having two books called Titan Death, but hey.
That has never stopped Games Workshop, ever.
Point.
Okay,
what are you talking about?
Do you like Dark Millennium? Oh, which one?
Do you like the Index Astartes? Which one?
Yeah, take your point.
Adeptus Titanicus Titan Death, I'll give it its full name so we don't get confused, is going to be adding in new maniples and rules for various legions. So, chapter tactics in Titanicus, anyone?
Interesting.
Indeed. Blood Bowl gets some new stuff, so there's going to be a goblin team in there and a new Nurgle slug thing, which is just creepy.
Yeah.
That is pretty unsettling.
I personally do not relish the idea of other people's characters having to try and tackle that, because I imagine they just walk into it and just get enveloped.
It'd be like, basically, if you filled like a beanbag chair with jelly.
Yeah.
And then it had to be tepid jelly, and then you'd have to run. Oh god, no!
It's the sort of thing when that gets fielded in universe, and the opponents would just go, "Is that allowed? Is that allowed?"
The dwarves bring a steamroller.
I prefer to fight a steamroller than that thing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the mess will make when he gets run over and just goes pop?
Oh.
I mean, I'm just thinking at the point, is that legal? The dwarves bring a steamroller, and the Chaos Forces bring a Minotaur.
Again,
so anything kind of goes.
Nowhere near as gross as this thing.
And neither of those have a visible hole that's excreting liquid.
I mean, that is a bonus. So just bring more steamrollers. That sounds like a good idea.
So, moving on. Ambles. There's lots of ambles. Ambles everywhere.
Yes.
Speaking of gross bugs.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that you would not have predicted a couple of years ago, of there's going to be multiple Amble models.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so what is an Amble, for those who don't know?
It's a giant space bug.
That's very mean.
Yeah, they've been present since Rogue Trader, but they had a model back then, but have sort of disappeared from a lot of places since then. They were in the 3rd edition rulebook, I remember that. You can see them in there, but...
They have been mentioned in the Caiaphas Cain novels, and they have been in the Fantasy Flight RPGs, as in the bestiaries.
Ah, yeah. I never played any of those, so, yeah.
Yes, apparently, I think Caiaphas Cain ate an amble steak or something.
As you do.
As you do.
As you do.
But yes, so first expansion for Blackstone Fortress, which is the Lair of the Amble, or whatever it's called.
The Dread
Amble, that's it, yes.
Dreaded Amble.
Yes.
Yep, so you can either shuffle it into the pool of enemies that you could get, or there is a whole dedicated quote-unquote side quest to go and kill the thing. So it can be a dedicated boss instead.
Yes. I can imagine a lot of people playing Final Fantasy boss music when fighting that thing.
That should be mandatory, to be fair.
I am really impressed with the model as well. Like, they've managed to take...
I like it how he got little bug friends falling off him.
Like, the really goofy old model was very of its era, and I think the updated version has worked really well, honestly.
It's pretty big as well, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, what's do you reckon it's about the size of a dreadnought? Or just a little bit shorter?
Is that like the 50mm base that it's on?
Let me see if that trailer gives anything away as to its size next to something.
I mean, it's bigger than all the other character models, so...
So he big at least.
He's a big boy.
I'd say he's probably about the size of a dreadnought.
It's definitely taller than the robot, or the Man of Iron, sorry. And so I'm thinking, maybe a small dreadnought, maybe...
Kilocan size?
Kilocan?
Yeah.
Kilocan's probably not a bad approximation.
And speaking of what people are going to be using to approximate kilocans, Ambots.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Ambots look amazing.
Or as I like to call them, the Autobot and Decepticon.
As soon as I saw those, I was like, okay, I want those for my orcs, and I don't know what I'm going to make with them, but I'll make something.
You should use that in your Grot Rebellion kill team.
They've
Put slap a squig on it. That's how you do conversions, right?
I mean, change the head and you've got the most awesome Warboss in Mega Armor conversion I've ever seen. But they're not in the Codex. Sad face.
You can use the index.
Even you don't sound convinced.
No, I hate that. I hate it so much. It would have taken like literally one page to put all the stuff back in there, and they just didn't.
Yeah, like, why can't Big Mechs come out of Mega Armor?
Yeah, like I always used Big Mechs with a custom force field. That was just my HQ choice since 5th edition. And then it was like, no, you can't do that anymore unless you want a Mega Armored one. And it's like, well, I have 3 Big Mech models, none of which are in Mega Armor. So, no.
And do you know how you build a Mega Armored Big Mech? Out of the Mega Knobs kit. What does that mean? You end up with 2 Mega Knobs. You can't do anything with 2 because you need minimum 3 to build
you can
unit.
build 3 Mega Armored mechs. Yeah, that's what you want.
No, shove off.
Yeah, it's not great.
I mean, technically, yes, because you've got one with a custom Mega Blaster, one with a custom Force Field, one with a Teleport Blaster, but no, fuck off.
To be honest, I've been salty since the 6th Ed Codex, and it stopped me being able to use the one that I made that was a Big Mech with a custom Force Field and a burner. Because that's just that's just what I used to use all the time, and then that got made. Yeah,
I had a squad. I basically did an Arch-Chancellor of Charadin idea where I had a Big Mech with burner and like Scorcher, with a squad of burners in a looted wagon with a Scorcher, and it was like, this is the Arch-Chancellor of Charadin.
Yeah.
I never did the conversion for it because I was no good at converting. I was about 13, but the 6th Ed Codex also took away my Wazdaka. And I haven't got over that.
No one ever gets over the loss of Wazdaka.
What was the last codex that allowed you to take cyborgs?
2nd Ed.
Before my time.
2nd Ed. As far as I'm aware.
It wasn't in 4th, so it's got to be before that.
Yeah, it's not in
my cyborgs back.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it wasn't in 3rd, and it wasn't in the Armageddon Codex, and it's not been in it since then, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2nd.
Yeah. And there was one more model. Well, there were a couple more models revealed for Middle-earth, but...
They look so bad. They look so bad. Legolas has a fat baby face.
Oh,
yeah, it's just a winter weight. I guess
I didn't look closely at him.
Have you two seen it?
Yeah, he looks like a smushed angry baby.
When I'd scanned through the page, the thing that always happens when I look at Middle-earth stuff happened, where it just instantly slides off my brain. Like,
you just don't take it in.
Gimli looks fine.
No shades.
I get accused of having a big forehead, but bloody hell, Legolas.
No shade to anyone that likes the game. It's just I don't care. But Legolas
it looks like he's holding a baguette as well.
Legolas looks like every part of his face has been stung by a bee.
Well, individually.
Yeah.
Like each cheek has got one bee sting.
No, I mean like a swarm of bees.
Every pore has been...
Baby food.
I gave Middle-earth a go back when it was like the Lord of the... before War of the Ring even. That's how long ago I gave it a go. and it was alright, I guess, but it's never grabbed me. I've never seen I just read the books. I've never watched the films. I know I'm weird.
I don't like any of it, so I'm even weirder, and currently getting comments in your YouTube. I'm sorry.
I like the movies way better than the books, so...
Well, I tell you what, I like that Legolas
yeah.
face better than I like anything else to do with Lord of the Rings.
But yes, whilst they got revealed, the 3 hunters have returned. There was one more model that was revealed at the end of the open
yes,
day.
an unnamed Black Legion character.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like a beast man on crack.
Yes.
He looks great.
Yeah, no, I don't know, I have no way to feel with him, but I want him so badly.
The question is...
Perfect.
You can have him as the most metal wolf priest.
I'm just going to run him exactly like that and just be like, hey, it's my Count Saz Ulrich. He's totally lawless. What the fuck's your problem?
Now, the question is he a Dark Apostle or is he a sorcerer, do you reckon? Because it looks like a Chaos Chaplain, but he's also levitating, which means he could be a sorcerer.
I'd probably go for sorcerer, given the floating, unless he's just doing a little hop. He's just really excited.
Or maybe he's just overly starched his robes, and he's just got kind of hoisted by his own overly starched robe. We can't say for sure.
He's suggesting there's a point that we can't see, and that's like wedged into the ground, and he's struggling to get down.
Yeah, he's just like, I best make it look cool then, because we can't see the back of his stave.
True.
The thing is this, and the thing in his hand is the fire isn't coming out of his hand. There's something in his hand that's on fire, so it's not like he's just conjured magical fire.
No, that's his Uncle Ben's 2-minute rice.
You put it in the microwave,
for like 10 minutes because he just wasn't paying attention because he was too busy starching his robes. And
how do you set it on fire? Whenever I cook Uncle Ben's, it just turns to mush.
Yeah, well, this is how much that guy messed up.
He's
just like, shit, you know what? I just got to go for it and just, you got to own this stuff.
What I'm really upset by is that he appears to have stolen Wazdaka's flaming skulls.
Oh, dang, you're right.
So...
I'm guessing this will be the new character introduced in Vigilus Book 2. I don't know what rank or name they're going to have, but I'm guessing this will be the Black Legion character introduced to replace Harkin Worldclaimer when Abaddon decides Harkin's not done a good enough job and tops his
Harkin World Burner.
Whatever.
Yes.
Potato.
Speaking of characters, there was another... We actually found out who the character was from the Christmas thing, which... Yes. It's Fat Bastard.
Oh, God.
Yes.
This friggin' model. To be fair, I do really like the model. I just think the head is awful.
Yeah, so this is Haval Redblade, a Space Wars Praetor from Horus Heresy, who wasn't in Book 7, I don't think. Though I need to double check that. He's armed with what looks like a frag cannon, even though frag cannons didn't exist.
Isn't it?
And is it? That barrel's so fat for a heavy bolter.
Yeah, but how many Terminators do you see with heavy bolters, in fairness?
True. They made me think frag cannon at first glance, but yeah, it's bullets, not grenades. Yeah, it's probably a heavy bolter.
Yeah, it looks like it looks more like a heavy bolter to me, honestly.
Yeah, maybe that's just my eyes being weird.
He's just telling everyone from the Thousand Suns to get in his belly.
You see, I always find it really peculiar because there's Forge World has a fairly erratic level of quality in the painting that they show.
I've noticed that, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm a big advocate for Games Workshop should show off more sub-perfect painting because it makes people not feel terrible for everything they paint.
That's fair.
But I find it really peculiar that this model they made a big like hype about and everything on the Warhammer community page wasn't super great. So it just...
Well, painting-wise.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's better than anything I could do, but, like, we're just used to these, like, perfect level, like, stuff all the time from them. So it's just like, okay. So it sort of looked a bit weird to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate that. But I do want the model, but I will just carve the head out immediately and put any other head on it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, do not like.
Yeah.
Maybe you can stick his head on the new Fat Tech Priest model from Kill Team. So you can actually have Fat Bastard.
Sure.
You don't sound impressed, Michael.
Can confirm.
Moving on.
Moving on. So that's I think that's every single model that's been revealed in the past couple of weeks, because blimey heck, there was a lot.
I mean, to be fair, there's been a lot just happened today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were lucky that we had to bump our recordings day back a little, which has definitely saved our skins in getting actual content into the podcast.
Oh, yes.
You don't have to worry. Our podcast doesn't ever have content. Oh, wait, never mind. No. Keep doing the good stuff.
Don't be like us.
Well, didn't we spend about an hour talking about Robert Patrick's balls?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, that's some good content. For me, at least, which probably means not for anyone else. So,
It's really, the worst part is, because it was like, it was the open day at like Warhammer World, I never ever realize these things are going on until the day they happen. We live relatively close to it, so we can literally go anytime we want.
We can just catch a bus, and we could have been there today, and we weren't because we're jerks.
I just always realize. I never notice these things are on until the day it happens, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I've got stuff to do today. Oh, all right. Shit. That just happens every time.
Tumbleweed.
It could have been. It could have been us getting these slightly awkward pictures holding giant, oversized weapons.
I wanted to hold the Thunderhammer.
There's all these pictures of people just wielding sword bolters and bolters and things.
Yeah, we'll just try and remember for next year because we're awful.
I'll just actually pay more attention rather than none at all.
Oh, that sounds impossible.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You can go next year and I can get you to buy me stuff.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
You just walk up and you just go, buy me something.
Yeah, you'll just be there and you'll just be following us around going, buy me that.
Even like clip from Family Guy, buy me something!
Yeah, pretty much. I'll go, okay, I will buy you something, and then I'll go and buy you a pot of paint.
I will buy you a bit
which is going up by 20p.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's mention that. So there has been a in the interest of openness update saying that paint pots will be increasing by 20p each, which is a lot. And some, if not all, start collectings will also be seeing some increase, though they haven't said exactly how much yet. They do say that generally you'll still get good value by buying them, but they have put them up, and I am not sure that was the best move. If they needed to put something up to maintain profits, whatever, I don't think start collecting was the thing to target.
Yeah, because those are... let's just say that Games Workshop has had a pretty spotty past about understanding that you should pay less for buying more. That's normally how things work.
With that lately, but even then, it's like
they've been better about that lately. So it's sort of gained them a lot more kind of good feeling towards it. Because I mean, I remember way back when I first started in third, and you get the big battle sets. What were they even called?
Battle Force.
Battle Force, yeah, and they were like 50 quid, I think. And you'd get
No, they were 40 originally.
Were they 40 originally? Oh, gee.
They were 40, yeah. Because the Space
Marine one had GW overcharged you as a joke.
Yeah, because the Space Marine one had a tactical squad, a Terminator squad, a land speeder, and a set of ruins.
Yeah.
£40.
Which was, if I remember rightly, you got one thing effectively free in each of those. So it was in the Space Marine one, I think it was the ruins. I remember the Imperial Guard one, you got a Sentinel.
Yeah, and when Battle Forces were at 50 quid, I remember the Orc one, you got 20 boys, a truck, and a squad of bikers, and effectively you got generally you got your vehicle free in those.
But as they've gone on, they have got better at these sort of things. The fact they've put out things like the Renegade box set and things like that, where you got 2 knights for significantly cheaper than buying 2 knights, as well as a massive ruins set. They've put out a lot of stuff like that, and I think they have. I know with me certainly, and both of us, they've gained a bit more good favour in that regard. And especially when you're talking about the things that are going to be the things that people first buy, which those kind of starter set things are a good starting point for a new collection. As you say, they're probably not the best things to target.
I was going to say the best thing for business is, especially with something as expensive as a hobby as 40k or just tabletop gaming in general. always make the starter sets cheaper, so you get them hooked first.
Oh, it's drugs.
Yeah.
You do it like drugs.
It's
Yeah.
basically just business.
Yeah, that was the analogy I was going to make.
Or alternately, if you want me to put prices up, just slap another tenner on the Primaris Chaplain, because that's already vastly overpriced. Like, you know.
Yeah, but he's so cool.
I know, he is very cool. And I'm very grateful that you spent the stupid
Yeah.
amount of money to get me for Christmas. Thank you.
Yeah, I think start collectings definitely are one of the best incentives, because sometimes when I'm thinking of starting a project, one of the best incentives to actually commit to that project is if they have a box set you can start with. Now, I admit I'm not very good at doing that, because both my Age of Sigmar armies were started without box sets, but the point being that if you're wanting to get started into a new army, a new project, a new game system, a start collecting is the best way to do it. The other way into these games is through games like Underworlds, the Kill Team,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Skirmish, small-scale competitive games that you can then expand your collection from there. And whilst I feel that they've focused that nicely, start collecting needs to be left alone a little. And as much as I hate to say it, I'd accept paying a little bit more on the codices, almost.
Yeah, I mean, they are...
Because
They are
codices...
good value for money. Like, what, 25 quid for, like, a full-colour fancy book. Because I bought the new Space Wolf one, and I was just astonished at how gorgeous that was.
Well, I mean, I remember, weren't they like 30 quid?
They were
back
more
in,
expensive
like,
for a while. Yeah.
5th and 6th, like, around there were like 30, 35 quid.
they were about
Sixth, they were bad. 4th and 5th, they were still like partly black and
They
white
were as well,
in
yeah.
the
They were.
art section. But around 6th edition, they moved. I think it was the start of 6th. They moved into full color and went hardback, and they were really expensive. And I think they have dialed that back a little bit. So I of all the things that I had to pay for, I think the codex. Everyone has to have a codex, so it's more net value. And B, it leaves people free to jump between models, because they're a models company, not a gaming company, more easily if the models boxes are a little bit cheaper. And some would say that they're feeding off the goodwill that they've gained over the past year, 2 years, by saying, yeah, GW's done a bunch of good stuff now because they're giving us these box sets and faster releases. Wait, they're putting their prices up? What?
It's almost as if you can't ever trust a corporation.
I mean,
up.
to play devil's advocate, it might be something to do with inflation or something, or other things like that. Which a lot of companies will probably be doing across the board.
Oh yeah, like if you consider when start collectings were first introduced, it was about this time 2 years ago. Start collecting boxes were introduced. So you take inflation over 2 years, you are probably looking at adding another fiver to the value.
And to be fair, though, I won't dwell on it. Let's just say there's some fairly crazy economic things that are going to going on in Britain.
Yeah, so that won't be helping
shortly.
just anything to do with money, regardless, especially like an international company like GW.
Yeah, if to be fair, the people I feel sorriest for are the people who are abroad.
Yeah.
Whether that's America, particularly Australia and New Zealand.
Australia is absolutely outrageous with how much this stuff costs.
And New Zealand is worse.
It is horrific over there. It's like, wow, okay.
The amount they pay for the same things is absurd.
It is shocking.
Yeah, I'd be quite happy. I think if GW is clever, that they'll at the minimum leave the and forgive my language, their foreign boxes or their non GBP prices will be left alone as far as possible. Maybe US dollars and UK pounds go up because that's not too bad on the exchange, but some of them can be left alone, I think.
Going back to codexes briefly, I still think the Custodian one is vastly overpriced. I mean, it's like £25 for like something that's about the same length as the Harlequin one, which is only 20.
I played Custodes, they still kicked my arse. So
Yeah, but the Codex is overpriced for what it is.
Fair point, because especially now that you can pay £6 for White Dwarf and basically get a set of chapter tactics for an army, like they're doing with Crimson Fist.
Yeah.
The Custodes don't get chapter tactics, etc. At least I don't think they do. So it does feel a little bit much, especially because they didn't bring enough of the Forge mod stuff over.
I mean, to be fair, there is a lot because there are a lot of little armies that over the last 5 years or so they've sort of brought to the fore and become like their own defined things rather than being just something, in the background. There's a handful that have a really, really low count of different units they can use, and it is a bit weird. Yeah, I mean, hell, reading through the Imperial Knights Codex, it's just a bunch of the same thing, really.
Yeah, at least they introduced 2 new types of units for the new Codex. So you got the little baby knights, and you got the baby warlords.
Mm.
So at least they added something.
But even then, there's such a small amount, and Custodes is kind of a similar kind of thing where there's very limited what you actually can field in it because there's only so many models they have.
Yeah,
compared to
it's a very high cost army, money, and miniatures as well.
Yeah. And especially because you look through any Space Marine book and there's 30 years worth of units that they're catering for.
Yeah. Not just a handful.
I mean, granted, a load of stuff has been cut back, but, so they have this huge array of things they can field. So, paying the amount you do for that seems like a lot more reasonable because there's so much you can field from one of them. Probably too much, to be perfectly honest. It's a bit overwhelming the amount of things you can field in a modern Space Marine Codex, I feel.
I mean, I don't have an issue with the Space Marine Codex being, the most expensive codex because, it's also the biggest.
Oh, that's huge.
Exactly,
so.
It's massive, so you get what you pay for. But comparing the Custodian one to the Harlequin one, they're about the same size, yet the Harlequin one's £5 cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, the point about, some armies have got a lot more history. Yeah, that's true. But then you look at armies like Sororitas. Sororitas are getting their codex this year. And whilst we don't know exactly what they're going to get, I suspect that their roster is going to be bulked out significantly from the, 10 or 12 units they get in chapter approved?
One would assume so.
I mean, here's hoping.
So, and considering, Custodes came out in 2-3 waves. They got the wave at the end of 7th edition when they actually came into the game. And then I think they got the jet bikes and the Terminators this time. So they had the scope, because they were putting new stuff out, to actually give the Custodes a full unit roster. Because the G-Silicals, as we said earlier, have gained at least 9 hero units alone. Plus 2 Mega Legions. That's 11 units that the G-Silicals are going to get. So, sure, you can't give Custodes everything, because that makes them really stupid overpowered. But the argument doesn't necessarily apply. But yeah, I take your point about this should be the same cost as the Harlequins. Fair point.
This has been the Codex Price Debate 2019.
But yeah, pricing is always going to be a contentious point, because some people say the hobby's too expensive, some people are willing to pay a little bit more. It's always going to be contentious. What is the right price point?
Because a lot of people they come into these things saying, well, it's an expensive thing, and if you can't afford it, then it's not for you. And personally, I think
I'm not a massive fan of that mindset. I'm not expecting to get models for free or be like, here's the Primaris Chaplain for £1. I don't expect that at all. It's just I understand that they're a business and they have the quality of the sculpts and the casts and just the amount of stuff they put in the codices and stuff like that. Just full color books that are very, very pretty. I get that this stuff costs a good bit of money to make. It's just
there's a line.
There's a line. It's I'm not going to go out and I'm not going to spend nearly £100 on a Primark model because I'm just fucking not. That's ridiculous. I've got rent to pay.
The challenge is, where is that line?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
and I think GW were doing a pretty good job at finding that line as of late.
Going back to the starters kind of stuff, where it's keep that cheap, and if you want to pop some extra money on, like Michael said, on the codices, I'd happily take that hit because they are very much worth the money you pay and a bit extra.
Yeah. I mean, there's the quality of the kits, recently have been so good.
They're fantastic, absolutely.
I saw some people getting mad that chapter approved was £20. And someone was saying, it's £20 for a balance pass. It's not £20 for a balance pass.
I paid £20 just for the ability to use looted wagons, but I'm weird like that.
It's £20 for a balance pass, a brand new datasheet and 8 new characters added into matched play, the introduction of narrative campaigns, a new expansion, if not 2, the return of Looted Wagons, character customization, unit customization, and then 12 new missions, which is the same as you get in the base rulebook.
Yeah,
Doesn't also have the beta codex for sisters in it as well.
Yeah, there's that
and
too,
the codex,
which people have been wanting for a little while now.
Well, yeah.
Just a couple of decades.
Nothing too severe.
What, are you saying there hasn't been a Codex Sisters of Battle since about 1994?
Exactly.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
I think it's a little later than that.
I mean, to be fair, the last...
Well, there was Witch Hunters as well.
But
yeah.
The only one I remember is the one that was in White Dwarf in like 2015.
Yeah, they've in their entire history, they've had like 2 physical codex, and one of them was Witch Hunters, and the other one was back in second. And ever since then, they've either had PDFs or White Dwarf entries.
I have the second edition
forward to
Sisters
seeing it.
Codex, which, funny enough, has the exact same ISBN number as the Dark Future novel with Elvis as a bounty hunter, but that's a different story entirely.
Oh,
Okay, so
There is a story behind
hats
that.
for that one.
There is a story behind me knowing that. Actually, I'll go into it now. Fuck it.
Did you
Yeah,
get
because
sent
I
the wrong
ordered
one?
it off an Amazon marketplace, from a place that sells used books. Codex Sisters
Yeah.
about second edition, £5, condition, used very good. It's like, okay, I'll go for that because I haven't got that codex. Comes in
and
the
that's
post.
a very
very
good
good
price
price
for
for
it.
it,
'cause
yes.
that tends to go for a lot more than the other second ed ones.
And in the post, I get Dark Future comeback tour, and it's Elvis Presley on the cover as a bounty hunter. I contact them about this, and apparently they have the exact same ISBN number, which is why they got the mix-up.
Well,
Not much of a mix-up, I guess.
According to the database, it's not a
Elvis
mix-up
is a
at all.
sister's
Yes.
special character confirmed.
But yes, going back to the original Sisters Codex, that was back when they only had like 3 units. Like they had the Sisters Squad, you had the Seraphim Squad, you had the Free Terrorist Militia, a Rhino, Immolator, and some special characters, and that was it.
And they've lost the Fraterrorist
And
Militia
most of the
since
special
then.
characters didn't even have models. The only special characters that did have models were the blokes.
Uriah Jackass and Theodore Karamazov.
I mean, none of the countless special characters got models or anything like that, so it's like, okay.
yeah, the sisters have not had the best.
They haven't had, many models.
Yeah.
All very good models. That's why I'm super hyped for, the new models and the codex. I've got... Because Alpha sent me Celestine, and she's
Ooh,
beautiful.
wow.
I love her.
Yeah.
I can imagine she's a pain in the ass to
Yeah,
glue
I'm gonna be a
together
bit
just on those thin bits of ribbon.
Honestly, that's the worst part, is that it's like, look at this skinny thing. And I'm sitting there going, how the hell do I move you anywhere?
The problem,
I can't.
transporting that thing is.
Yeah, just I think I've just been talking about it, and I think that has actually snapped bits off her. Oh no!
And the worst part is that a lot of the really delicate parts, because of how they attach, even pinning's not really much of an issue.
Yeah.
Well, not an issue, but it's not an option
But it's
because of how it's attached.
It's such a
ugh.
beautiful model. You want to take it outside and throw it throw it around and basically check this out. But if you do, she'll just fly to bits.
Yeah.
And then she'll be back in a turn anyway.
Somehow they have managed to make a Sisters of Battle miniature that feels more delicate than the ankles on an old metal penitent engine.
Lord.
Oh, God.
I'll be honest, though, of all the things that we know are coming this year, so just from what we know from 2018 and from the reveals, we know we've got Skaven coming, we've got Flesh Eater Cult, Slanesh, we've got Gene Stealer Cults, we're going to have Sisters, we're going to have probably something Inquisitorial, I don't doubt, plus all the other stuff that's going to come along, expansions and whatnot. The Sisters are one of the things I'm the least fussed about. And I don't know if that's just because I never cared or because they came out they were revealed at Adepticon when the Undead Deepkin happened. And
that was
blew
kind of
everybody's
really
mind.
unfair on anything that wasn't the Deepkin. Because that had famous model octopus with a knife.
Shanktopus.
And Giant Doom
Shanktopus.
Turtle.
Yeah.
And the Sharks. And the
It's
Seal
just maybe
Cavalry.
don't announce the Sisters at the same time, or anything at the same time as the Deepkin, because nothing is going to look as good comparatively.
All I'll say is that for me personally, the Sisters coming out is basically the only thing I care about this year, because I've wanted to collect a Sisters army since I started playing 40k, but the models have just been so awful and so expensive.
They're still metal, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah. They're one of the few things that still are.
I think it's just trying to get rid of their old stock.
Yeah.
There was like, we can't put a new codex on models. We need to sell these ones.
Well, they've been there like, oh, hey, no one's buying these models. I'm sure there's no reason for that. Could it be that you've not serviced this army properly in the last 30 years?
No. 25 for a system with a melter gun.
Yeah. Or, let's just charge like an obscene amount. It's like, those things are going to sell pretty slowly, mate. Like,
turns out they made from solid gold or something instead. It's like, shh, it's a secret.
No one knew because no one's ever bought one.
And then when the Sisters models come out, people are going to complain how they look terrible.
Oh, everyone will. Exactly. They'll be like,
oh, they're not sexy enough. I'll piss off.
It'll be, they're not sexy enough, or they're too sexy. And honestly, I think, like, armor-wise, I think they look pretty good. Like, I'm, like, personally, like, I'm not a massive fan of, like, the, like, Madonna titty plate. But, like, it is a part of their aesthetic, like, they have the corset and, like, the kind of thing. So I think it looks, like, the new kind of, like, previews we've seen looks really good, actually.
They still...
A lot more kind of in proportion, and just, like, because especially compared to the old models. I mean, to be fair, anything compared to the old models.
I'm just glad that we've seen some of the heads and not all of them are going to look like Lady Gaga now.
I mean, I don't mind having some Lady Gagas.
Oh, that's fine.
But every one of them being Lady Gaga is a bit excessive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, I'm looking forward to those.
We're just going to have to find the interesting way of how do we manage it where both of us want to collect Sisters. And that's a really inefficient thing to do.
Just make sure you pick different orders or something, or the same order, so you can share.
We'll just cut every sister model in half. I'll paint half, you paint half, and then we'll just glue them poorly back together.
That does seem like the best way to go about it.
I can't think of a better way to do it.
We can have Sister Dent.
Sister Dent?
Yeah.
Sister Harvey?
Yes.
Sister 2 and Sister Face, and then we're basically out of ideas.
Yeah, basically.
And there's just like Sister that one guy
like,
from Batman.
One of you's going to paint it hot pink, and the other one's going to paint it like neon turquoise or something.
Vaporwave battle systems. Yes,
I was going with
that.
Early 90s, but sure, whatever floats your boat.
Now you seem older than me.
Make the Noise Marine look like a maybe like a conversion with the Noise Marine to make it look a bit less chaotic and a bit more holy, and then you've got the most metal.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Yes, that's what we can do, honey.
Yeah, there we go. We're sorted.
How are you at painting leopard print? Sister Sledge.
That's a reference that's probably gone over a lot of people's heads.
Probably,
yes, it has.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to them, and it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
How the full length, because obviously, Chapter Approved had it was just rules for all their old stuff. I don't think there was anything new in there, was there? Yeah. Like, obviously, there was.
Not that I recall. Just it was a bunch of like basically updated data sheets with some.
Because I'm really interested. I mean, what if I was wish listing? If I was like,
you
if
just
I
want them to have looted wagons. Just shut
up. Well, in open play, I mean, there's nothing to stop you taking a looted wagon for anything.
Well, I mean, you could do like a Bayonetta thing and just make a giant high heel, and then it could be a booted wagon.
Okay, I'm moving on.
Fine, my genius is wasted.
What I would really love them to have, and I know they will probably never have them, is I want sister Terminators, because I've seen people like draw them, their interpretations of them, and I've not seen an interpretation of them that I've not loved. So I would love them to have a Terminator suit equivalent.
Have you seen? There's a piece of art, and I feel terrible. I can't remember the name of the artist. There's a sister with like a flamer. And she's just like setting something on fire, and she's got this huge cigar in her mouth, and it's just like, and I'm like,
oh yeah, the one with a huge grin on her face.
Yeah, I want her because I want that.
Yeah.
I feel like they probably won't do Terminator just because they'll want to be slightly distinct from Space Marines and Custodians.
Yeah.
Something like Centurion style. I think someone mentioned that in a previous podcast. Like a Centurion style battle system. Yes, you said
that.
I can see that though. Can we have a version of Centurions that doesn't look quite as awful and goofy though?
I think you mean
asking a bit
adorable.
Primaris Aggressor style.
Yeah, Primaris Aggressor style, because that's the thing. Aggressors are the proof that Centurions don't have to look so bad.
Yeah,
because,
but how would it be a Centurion if it didn't look so goofy?
like, they're just so
The correct
bad.
term
I hate
is
them.
cuddly.
That's the thing. They're like, aggressors look aggressive, whereas Centurions just look a bit
They look
silly.
like a century-old pug. Ready for a pug.
They are pug marines, yeah.
So you can add them to your Space Wolves army, as your Pugamonsters.
Oh, fuck no.
Space pugs. If you had a sort of squat Space Wolf army, then those could make good Space Corgis, because their legs and arms are shorter.
that would be really cool.
So should we send a note to Zoran to get them?
Yep. Come on, Zoran.
Get your Space Corgs in order.
Oh dear, oh dear. And I think that's the news, just...
Yes.
There's some Necromunda heads that are just like...
Chainsaw Mohawks, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly saw one of those Mohawks and I thought it was like like the Trojan horse. I thought like just it was the head of like a similar kind of shape of the Trojan horse, but it was a unicorn and the guy was just wearing it on his head.
So you mean he had a horse head spike out of his forehead?
That's what I thought. I thought he had like he styled his hair like the Edge from U2. He'd styled his hair into the shape of a horse hat instead of just a normal hat.
I like how when you're talking about the Edge styling his hair, you're making a reference to a really, really old British comedy called, was it Rock Profiles, where the guys from Little Britain would pretend to be pop stars and would be interviewed by Jamie Theakston.
Yeah.
And the Edge, his hat, is referred to as being his hair. Yeah. And you've now made me mention that so that not everyone is confused.
Now you look like the weirdo.
Yeah, now I look like the weirdo.
Yeah, so I like it how his hair is a horse.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
I think the heads are pretty good looking.
I think they're good looking.
But they are just heads.
Also, like, there's like a set of them with like, there's one that's been moulded into a skull, which is super rad.
Yeah, some of the Goliath ones.
Yeah, some of those ones, they just look like they're straight out of Unreal Tournament.
They do, yeah.
And I love that. I love that so much. Was it Crowder?
Cawdor, or whatever, how you pronounce it?
Cawdor.
I can't pronounce
Yeah.
Yeah. Love those.
Because you've somehow missed those coming out.
Yeah, I was just like,
just the original
be
models.
still my beating heart.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They are very cool. Do like those very much. So
yeah.
I've just been gushing about unicorn hair.
I'm sorry, talking about unicorn.
Yes!
Sorry, any tangent that involves, talking about
unicorns,
rock profiles, this tends to, devolve things a little bit.
You
should move on of wherever your podcast is going, because the podcast we're doing is going to weird places.
Yeah, we'll stop.
So, Remleiz, what have you been reading this week?
I've read the Corex Primark novel, and it's actually not too bad as far as the Primark novels are concerned, considering that a lot of them are hit and miss. I mean, it had a pretty interesting scene where Corex effectively threw someone into a sun.
Good.
Well, I say threw into a sun. What actually happened was like the guy was on a space station. He sent his Mortaria to disable the engines and the shielding. It's falling into the sun. The guy's like, oh, "Wait, I want to negotiate terms of surrender." And Corex is like, "Nah."
He's like, negotiate this. Yes!
That was quite interesting at the beginning when the Imperial Commander says, like, I actually requested the Night Lords.
Oh, that's awkward.
Like, when you need a job done where the enemy's not dead, just so shit terrified, call in the Night Lords, but the Raven Guard will actually kill them.
Yes.
Well, that works.
Indeed.
Any interesting, new information about Corax that's, worth... Oh, his relations to the Primarchs? Any mention of the Lost, considering they've come up before?
Well, apparently he is not a fan of Gilliman's decorating.
Everyone's a critic.
Hang on, I think I've actually got the...
Everyone's a critic.
I've got the passage. Hang on 1 second, I just get it up. Where is it?
While you look for it, I'll just mention the fact that squig dice are now a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those squig dice are super cute.
Yeah, I'll just mention that as a distraction while Remleiz finds
Somehow I don't feel those squig dice are going to roll super well.
Yeah, but who cares? The squig
Just going to say, I think the chance of them having a bias is pretty high.
Squig dice, they've got teeth.
I got it. Okay, so it's a conversation between Corax and Gilliman, So Gilliman starts off with saying, "Oh, you must think our culture vulgar." "Not at all," said Corax. Gilliman smiled at the polite lie. "Compared to some, your tastes are restrained," continued Corax. "Fulgrim's taste must be overwhelming for you. Boarding the Pride of the Emperor was like being punched repeatedly in the face by a perfumed fist."
That's a good description.
Brilliant line.
I also adore, "Oh no, it's very nice. Corax lied badly."
I mean, Gilliman's good at reading people, but come on, Corex.
He couldn't even be asked to lie. Or lie convincingly.
Yes. I thought that was a great little bit of interaction. And also, Gilliman has a holodeck.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it's
So we can go do Sherlock Holmes shit. Like,
yeah, so
like
you can go do Sherlock Holmes shit and hang out with whatever the 40k equivalent of Reg Barclay is.
Yeah,
Yes.
just hanging out.
They're just sitting there, like, in this holodeck, and they've got these big hats on.
It's like full ceremonial armor that has got this really tall cowboy hat.
I've seen, Gilliman walking to the holodeck, dressed as a cowboy or Sherlock
Just
Holmes.
over his armar.
And then no one's
He's got
batting
like
an eye.
a
It's like,
sheriff star, and he's like, "I'm a cowboy."
"Excuse me, Captain, I'm going to go away and do some LARPing."
I get the feeling he'd more be like Roman Emperor style if that was what he was doing.
He'd still have a really large cowboy hat and a sheriff star.
Nah, he'd be going
That
to do
is really
50s
the
detective
law
noir stories.
Yeah, with the sheriff star and a big hat, because the Imperial records are so corrupted. Now every period in history has really long cowboy hats and a sheriff star.
I do realise that this is just going to make the comments talk about Primark cosplay ideas, and it's just going to go all over the place.
Yeah, I'm the worst.
Well, I mean, Sanguinius, I think, would make a decent, Sailor Moon character, because I can see the transition thing.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
wings will
He's
look
all
really
like
good with
he's
that.
all like sanguineous power makeup,
Yeah.
and he's doing all the wing thing. He'd definitely be Eternal Sailor Moon, because that's the one that has the wings.
Ah, yeah, there we go. There we go.
And
be
before
Eternal
someone says in the
Sanguinius.
comments, Comrade Kurz will cosplay Batman.
Oh no, I want him to cosplay as like.
No, he'd cosplay
Riddler.
Batman which is it? Which of the Venture Brothers likes to dress up as Batman, and he's just wearing Batman pajamas and a bad plastic Batman mask that he keeps getting his tongue stuck in.
It's Dean, isn't it?
Dean, yeah, it's
yeah,
Dean.
because it's like an Adam West. Yeah. Corex is dressing up as Adam West Batman.
Badly.
Badly.
I wouldn't even be surprised if Conrad Kurz went the opposite way and did the Joker.
Oh yeah, but he'd be like he
Caesar
wouldn't be
Romero
like,
Joker.
Yeah, he'd be like Caesar Romero Joker.
He'd grow a mustache just for it.
Just so he could like plaster it in like face paint.
Sorry, we'll get back to the 40k podcast.
This is talking about 40k.
Ish.
Hey, come on. We've managed to go for an hour with only a minor tangent. Come on, we're doing really well.
We're
I'm
on our
proud of
best
us.
behaviour.
Just because it's on Remleiz' channel.
In fairness, you haven't head
Anything
desk
else?
yet.
I to be fair, luckily I'm sort of sat side onto my desk, otherwise there probably would have been one at some point. But yeah, we're managing.
Yeah,
You should have told me that. Now I want to incur a head desk, and I don't want to do that.
There was a question about the comments that tried to set me off to make one happen, so it's not
Okay,
a regular
that's
feature
fair.
at this point.
But what was it? Yeah, there was a few other things as well. Like there was going on about the Sable brand, which is basically the Raven Guard gene floor, where their skin turns pale, their eyes turn black, and they become extremely depressed yet extremely violent. So basically, it's the emo gene.
I would have said football goths, but that works too.
And Gilliman and Corex were talking about it, and Gilliman was like, "Yes, my Marines are mostly free of flaws," and Corex was basically feeling like, "You smug bastard."
Their Corex is like, well, I mean, they do have one big flaw. They're Ultramarines.
Ooh.
I actually genuinely, after reading No Fear,
No, I like
genuinely
the
kind of like the Ultramarines now. That book finally changed my mind.
Yeah, I didn't in the beginning because they were poster children. They're basically like the Scott Summers of like Space Marines, so I kind of got really bored of them. And then as it's like they've started making them really cooler, and Gilliman is just such a badass.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm probably one of the, or maybe not one of the few, but I'm one of the people who prefers new Gilliman to old by a lot.
oh no, I get that.
Because there's a bit about how when Gilliman comes to Rin's world and bails the Crimson Fist out again, the conversations he has with Cantor and all of that stuff. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's just so chill. Like, he fights with Cantor like they're equals, and then he's just like, right, you're doing a good job. I want your world to basically be the linchpin of Segmentum Tempestus. You can do it, go do it, and he goes and does it.
Yeah, Big Bobby G is a cool guy.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But I think the good thing about the Primarch series, the good thing about it is we get to see the Primarchs being, and I know they're not technically human. They're having that casual banter with one another, which is something you don't see, because obviously the original introduction to the Primarchs is they've all got super teenage angst and want to murder each other.
Yeah.
And now we get to see the Primarchs before they went all angsty teenage phase.
Yeah.
And they get to just be normal, quote-unquote, people.
Normal
and
for
just have
them,
a bit
I
of
guess.
banter with one another and all of that. I think that's really good
Plus
to see.
also-
They get to
Yeah,
be as normal as anyone is in the 41st
Yeah,
millennium.
I'd say, like, if you'll excuse the word,
Well,
it
there you go,
humanises them.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Plus, it gave us that scene, where Ferris Man's caught a las cannon beam and crushed it.
As you do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could do that, I just don't want to.
Of course.
I know these things aren't set in the 41st millennium, by the way, because I know someone will leave a comment calling me out on that.
I nearly said it, but I thought better of it.
I was...
Don't you love how the Horus Heresy takes place in the 51st millennium?
Oh, yeah,
that's
it's great.
that's legit canon.
Yeah.
It's just a time travel thing. You guys just don't know the law.
Anytime
properly
someone
like
makes a
what I do.
small mistake in a podcast, you should totally point it out, because they totally don't know.
Oh, I'm sure.
Overall, the Primarch series has been kind of hit and miss. Like, Gilliman's one I thought was boring as fuck, which was a very bad way to start off the series, let's be bloody honest. Russ's one I didn't like. Magnus's was alright. Perturabo's I like. Lorgar's I like. Fulgrim's I like. Ferrismas was okay. Jagatai's was meh. Vulcan's was alright, but Corex's was good, so it's kind of all over the place.
Now, I've not read any myself, but I have heard
into.
from many people that the quality's a bit all over the place.
I mean,
Yeah.
personally, I think the Lorgar one's the best one so far.
I can understand why, and I think a lot of people would say the same about the Fulgrim one. I think the Fulgrim one's one of the more generally highly regarded.
I mean, the reason I like the Fulgrim one is because it's pretty much entirely set before, he even met the Emperor. Covering him from his childhood up to his adulthood.
Yeah,
Which was a nice
and
change.
I
And
think
it actually gained some sympathy for Lorgar, and it just showed how much of a cunt Corferon was.
Yeah, and I think that's something, that part of history, that before the Legions met the Primarchs, before the Primarchs met the Emperor, that is the biggest hole in history that we have. Because all of the stuff that leads up to the heresy happens after the Primarchs arrive, obviously. Yeah. The Primarchs' own origin stories are patchy, but we know at least a bit about them. So we know Dawn was on this ice world, and then he became the sort of lord of it, and then something happened, and diddly-diddly-dee. We know Russ landed on Fenris, was raised by wolves, found humans, became king of humans, Emperor shows up, big fight, diddly-diddly-dee. It's the little details of how they were brought up, why they became who they are, and how their legions, even before the Primarchs were found, started to shape in a way that their Primarchs could go along with. The Space Wolves were, back when they were the Rout, or whatever their moniker was, were more offensive and pseudo-savage. The Word Bearers, they weren't religious, but they were zealous as all flip. So that's a period of history I find really fascinating, and it's just a period of history we don't have all the data on.
Now, you could always go read Descent of Angel.
But yeah, like, talking about, like, the Primarch series, because I haven't, like, full disclosure, I haven't read them, but I do want to. And like, was it the Fulgrim one you said that takes, like, kind of from him being younger?
It's Lorgar's is the primary pre-Emperor one.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, I mean, like, I like patchiness in stories or character backstories because then it kind of, like, it helps you, feel a bit more on board with the setting because you can kind of go, oh, I wonder what happened here, and it kind of increases, like, the chance for a bit of a debate or a bit of fun fan postulating.
You might also say that the patchiness of backstories of settings allows people to have entire YouTube channels.
Yes, which is also pretty rad. So I do want, like, personally, I do prefer when there's, like, big patches of who the hell knows. But I also, like, it does sound like that's what they should have been doing with all the Primarch books, with basically having them from being young boys, well, for as long as a Primarch is a boy.
Yeah.
And just kind of basically showing them grow. Because that's,
to be fair,
that is what I'm interested in. I want to see who they are as people. Yeah, okay, they're big fucking demigods, basically. That's great. but I want to put. I want to see the personality there. I want to see it develop on. I want to see kind of like what I know as the Legions now and the Primarchs at the time of the Heresy. I want to see how they become that.
Yeah, I mean, some of them have sort of been covered a little bit. Like I mentioned Descent of Angels as a joke, but also kind of is.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like in Deliverance Lost, you kind of get a very speedrun version of Corex's entire backstory in that.
I mean, to clarify, I mean, like, I don't want to see them when they start fighting but like, I want to see them kind of, like I say, from quite young to kind of like, you know, like Lion-O, the boy, like, you know, running around being all like, I'm like a year old, but I'm basically 8 years old physically, and it's like, I kind of want to see him kind of like readjusting to quote unquote human life and kind of trying to understand people, and eventually like that like basically learning fucking up, like being so obviously not human or not 100%.
Yeah, I think the bit I want to see, and I should clarify as well, I don't want to see everything. I'm happy with gaps. It's just I want to see a bit more of seeding in those gaps. But the period I want to follow the period of reintegration. Like, the Primarchs growing up is really interesting, and as you say, it gives some fantastic little insights. But I want to see the first 3 or 4 chapters of the novel is the Legion. It's the Legion led by its Legion masters before the Primarch arrives. Maybe the Primarch's just been discovered, and they're all debating among themselves. What's their name? Where are we going? What are they like? How are they going to do whatever? What plans will they have for us? And then I want to see the Primarchs like, wait, so you're telling me that there's a giant pile of superhuman dudes who are coming here and they're going to work for me, and you expect me to lead your armies and what is the Imperium now?
That would be an awesome thing to kind of see.
Has there been many stories of the Legions pre-finding the Primarchs?
No, most of the information is in the red books.
Yeah,
on the black books for Heresy.
I've not read that many of the books because there are far too many of them.
There's a few, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even caught up with the Heresy series because there's like 50 books in there. That's not counting all the spin-offs. Like,
I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think Remleiz has probably read every single 40k book twice.
I mean,
not quite.
Just what are you, like, one book away?
Just not twice.
That sounds like I'm dunking on you, but it's just like I don't understand how a human being could read so fast.
I'm only going for an average of 1 book a week.
Jesus, dude! Only. It takes me like 6 months to get through a book.
Yeah, I'll tell you about the book I'm reading at the moment in a little while, so you'll understand why that's taken a long time. But yeah, normally it takes me like a month or so, or just shy of a month to read a book. So like, Jesus. But yeah, because of, you know, obviously I haven't read everything. Like, I am always interested to hear about the pre Primark Legions, because you get little smatterings of information about them. Oh yeah, they were the Dusk Raiders or whatever, or the Warhounds. And I want to know about those. I want to know like what they were like, because I think it's because narratively a lot of them seem awfully convenient that they were already kind of like what they would become. But I'd like to see that elaborated on to kind of explain why. Because, I mean, you could just say, oh, yeah, the gene seed from the Primarch just makes that fucking be the case. But, you know, I'd like to see that elaborated on more. And
yeah, because there's the whole thing of, like, some of the Primarchs were brought up a certain way. So Lorgar was brought up on a religious world, and it just so happened that his legion, whilst not religious, were fiery zealots and orators who could bring people around to the imperial truth in 5 minutes flat, and if they didn't, then they were going in with the bolters blazing.
It's almost as if those things were decided before anyone really thought about how silly it was.
Yeah, but it's like, so you're the Emperor. The Primarchs have just gone everywhere. You have no effing clue where the Primarchs are. And you have a recollection of, okay, I designed the Primarchs somewhat to be a bit like this. So there's a question actually a little bit later that talks about the idea of roles that the Emperor had for the Primarchs. So Corvus might have been a judge. Russ was the enforcer, the executioner. Kurz was
Batman.
The secret police.
He was the Batman.
Anyway.
He was justice.
So he has these pre-ideas of what the Legion, of what the Primarchs were going to be. So does he shape the legions and put them into war zones that make them like that, so that their genetics will be brought to the fore, and just expect that the Primarchs ended up that way? Or was it complete random luck that the gene seed and the Primarch's upbringing, which were completely uncorrelated, just so happened to go the same way? That's why that makes that period so interesting as well. Fair point.
I think a wizard did it, is probably the answer. But I mean, yeah,
it was Horus's fault.
That's definitely true for the Thousand Suns.
But yeah, I mean, obviously the real reason is, of course, that it was just because they decided on these things, and then they didn't really put two and two together when they were writing the early lore and go, oh wait, why would they be like this before they met them? But I would love
a really good bit of intuition. It's fine.
Yeah.
Before anyone in the comments say anything.
No, but it would be really nice to see them actually try and come up with an in-universe reason. As you say, it could be the Emperor intentionally guiding them to become exactly what he wanted them to always become, and it's just they were destined to become that on whatever world they ended up in. Or you could even say that when they were stolen away and thrown to the four corners of the galaxy, that I don't know, there was some divine intervention there that meant that they would land on worlds that would shape them perfectly for their legions or something.
Yeah, I mean, you are kind of just bringing up the nature versus nurture kind of thing.
Well, yeah.
And who did a video on that? This guy. Yeah, I love that argument about how the Primarchs came to be and whether the legions were shaped to be that way. The nature versus nurture argument, I love that argument.
Definitely.
Well, debate,
yeah,
sorry.
It's very interesting, yeah.
So is it time for the questions?
Yeah, we've been going on for over an hour on just random stuff. Let's do questions. So I've done that one because I just talked about it just then. Remleiz, since we're talking about Raven Guard, given that the Raven Guard contain a gene seed flaw that causes them to become savagely violent,
Sable brand, yeah.
would this mean that the Carcharodons, who we believe to be Raven Guard successors, would be classed as the quote-unquote flesh tearers of the Raven Guard, given that Outer Dark supposedly confirms that they are sons of Corex?
I suppose so, yeah. I still need to read that book, but yeah, that book is supposedly confirming that they are descended from the Ashen Claws, yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Because apparently Tybros's weapons, Hunger and Slake, apparently they're actually Ashen Claws relics.
Oh, dang.
Allegedly. Again, I still need to read the book to confirm it myself, but...
Yeah, we're putting a lot of supposedlies and allegedlys here because we've not read it.
Yeah.
Just to be
Citation needed.
Yep. Don't leave that comment. We're aware.
Yeah.
Don't touch that dial.
Don't copy that floppy, what are we doing?
We're getting on to a new question. Do you think that the general human population underwent some genetic enhancement during the Dark Age of technology or earlier, since this person is very sceptical that humans as we know them could survive in environments such as the Underhives, Death Worlds, irradiated worlds like Baal, places like Fenris, Catachan? Do you think they underwent some sort of enhancement that made them more resilient to those sorts of things and more flexible?
Don't think so. I think some of it will probably just be, the result of, natural evolution in a way.
Yeah, I was always
humans are adaptable. That's, I would say, is one of the prime qualities of us.
We as a species are annoyingly resilient, and like milk, for example, we're all like a little bit lactose intolerant. We still drink the fucking stuff.
We drank milk before pasteurization was invented, and it was literally poison to us.
Yeah, so people are going to be stubborn dicks and live on Fenris and not move.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they get shipwrecked and they can't get off the planet, so it's like, oh shit, the entire planet's trying to kill us. Well, looks like we better make a colony and teach our kids to shoot before they can walk.
Yeah.
Catachan.
I mean, I'm sure that there are some...
Catachan, they crash-landed and couldn't get off again. Let's be fair to
just
and they rocked it.
They rocked it, but...
To be fair, I would assume that there are, in some places, it wouldn't surprise me if some populations were genetically altered, but I don't think that's like a wide thing throughout
I think it's few and far between.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so since the Primaris upgrade doesn't have a high upgrade success rate, clarification, we got the numbers the wrong way around last episode.
Yes.
How many named characters do you expect we're going to get to upgrade the old guard? If you take the current ranges of approximation, say there's 20 Space Marine characters, one's been upgraded, how many more do you think we're going to get?
5.
That actually seems about right.
That's a fair number.
What I hope they do Ragnar Blackmane just so we get a new bloody model.
Just get me another model.
We need a whole bunch of character models. We need new Ragnar, new Mephiston, new Dante, new Azrael.
I'd love to see Cantor get upgraded just because his chapter deserves it, but he has got a really nice model.
That's what I mean. Of all the old models, I think Ragnar is the one that looks the most of its time period.
The baby booties.
Yeah.
Oh,
I always refer to it as the model that will not die, because it's just... It needs a new one.
You just reminded me of something. I was reading White Dwarf this month, and there's a new column in there. What's it called now? It's Robin Cruddas, the guy who wrote the new rules for 40k. He wrote a column, kind of like Standard Bearer. What's it called now?
What a load of crud.
Don't be so negative, Remleiz.
No, that would have been a great name for a column by Robin Cruddas.
Or Crudace, or however it's supposed to be.
I mean, Andy Chambers, when he wrote a column, his was called Chambers of the Horned Rat.
It's called Echoes from the Warp. And he talks about the development process that went into 8th edition. And he was saying that basically there is a game known as The Game That Never Was, which was basically a full set of rules for 40k that then got binned, and Murder Your Darlings binned and replaced with 8th edition. So the development process changed
like the Lost Primarchs all over
halfway
again.
through.
I wouldn't be surprised. Does it? Because I haven't read through the full thing yet. I've just flicked through it because I haven't had the time to read through the magazine properly. Does it give any specifics about it, or does it just say?
No. So it goes on about. So basically, they were developing a new set of rules, and they tested them for a while, and then they got one that developed as a front runner. The game was developed, the core rules were tightened, data sheets were written, missions were written, everything was going well, and about a month later, they went back to the drawing board and binned it.
Dang.
I wonder if that was just because I mean, when it comes down to 40k's rules, there's the pre-3rd edition, which is its own thing, and then 3rd edition to 7th edition is really just iterations on the same thing.
Well, he says it was a super cool game, just not the best idea for Warhammer 40k, and he goes on. He talks about how he basically realised it wasn't quite working, playtesting with his mate on a Tuesday night in his kitchen. He said that where was it? There were elements from the game that never was that didn't capture the feel of the grim dark as well as 7th did. So what they did is, instead of reinventing the wheel, what if we just took the existing rules and made them the best they could be? So they changed the design philosophy and rebooted the game.
Okay, so effectively it was even more, because obviously they changed quite a few things for 8th, compared to how little was fundamentally changed for the previous iterations. So it was even more changed, and 8th is actually kind of a bit, I don't want to say backpedal because I do like 8th, but it was kind of a bit, they brought it back to closer to what it used to be. Okay. Yeah, so some of the little things. So he talks about, it's important to stress they weren't looking to dumb down the game, take away synergies. They just wanted to, for example, they took away ballistic skill and turned it into a dice roll instead of a stat. So that it was just a little bit quicker. And trying to cram things into the rule, changing the way the rules were presented to be on data sheets instead of in the rule book to try and save space. And things like that. So it's a really interesting little column. And the idea of, what if we treated every unit the same way? Which was one of the things they were talking about initially. So instead of having different unit types. So what they did is they then added movement and damage and things like that. And that went on, and they examined everything and sin. I'm not going to go through the whole column here. But it was a really interesting column. And Jervis has one for AOS, which is, he was talking about the whole process of FAQing and erratas and designer commentaries. So, yeah, White Dwarf has had a real big... what's it called? Rules of Engagement. Yeah, I'll have to go through that, because that does sound very interesting. So I'm always fascinated by how the game has developed and what they go through, because, I mean, it's been around for 30 years, and it's indistinguishable from the early versions of it, but it's interesting to see what sticks around and what doesn't, I'm just glad the turning circles haven't. Road Trader turning circles. I'm glad those are never coming back.
I'm sorry, I don't have a PhD in every maths ever.
Yeah. Okay, new question. So this is a question where I think this person's trying to find the episode where we asked this before, but they can't, so I'm going to answer it again. What do you believe the 2 Lost Legion strategies were in warfare? Because everyone had their own sort of style of waging war.
Stop, drop, and roll.
One of them was an entirely diplomatic one. They solved everything through talking.
No, they sold everything.
And
through
you know
TikTok.
what? I'd love to see that on the tabletop.
It's just
that would be not tabletop, but in lore. I'd love
You
that.
walk up to you have miniature, and it just walks up to it. It has to just get to the commander of the other thing, and then they
So
negotiate.
They get kinged or something.
Yeah, they
We wish
negotiate.
to
me.
parlay.
You basically, that's it.
Yeah, parlay basically means that you are it basically means that your unit is invulnerable to attack and just can walk through to your commanding unit.
It even
And be
works
like,
on Tyranids.
"Excuse
It's
me."
really weird.
Yeah, it's so strange.
A few dog biscuits for them.
Yeah. A few head scratches.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, 'cause I've always perceived the Lost Legions were originally in there just for people to put in their own ideas into, for their own custom things.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, this is people coming up with their own
Yeah.
ideas, and it's just like, what do you think?
But yeah, I don't really know what they. I mean,
I
what's
think
left
one
really?
of them was stranded on a planet that was quite primitive technology-wise. So they basically just had old-timey kind of TVs. And it took until, like, the 31st millennium for, like, old kind of, like, transmissions of Sonic the Hedgehog, the cartoon,
Right.
to get to them.
Right.
Like, not like Sonic Underground or anything like that, like the good Sonic cartoon.
You mean the Sonic Sat AM?
Yeah,
It's usually
yeah,
referred
that's
to.
it. So they're the Satamists,
Yeah.
yeah, and then the leader is obviously the Sonic of the group, and all of the other ones are basically just they're like the little robot animals.
I would assume they would specialise in fast attack.
They are they got to go fast attack.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. They call
Yeah.
it that's a canonical thing. And if you disagree with me, then you need to read the lore better because I've read all of it. And
I'm pretty sure
and-
Jagatai won't be too happy about that.
Well, that's another reason like they didn't bring it forward because like the White Scars already existed and they had to go fast, so it was like that and this copyright being a thing, seeing as like
Originally, the White Scars were actually based around Shadow the Hedgehog.
They
and
were,
the colour
yeah.
scheme was radically different.
they got over it, as the kids say,
Yeah.
and they decided to just be a lot cooler than Shadow the Hedgehog. Unfortunately, on in the Satamists' planet, occasionally they're like beautiful like Sonic Sat-Am the cartoon would be interrupted by like really old episodes of Coronation Street. So they're like
David the Gnome, surely.
David
David the Gnome.
yes. I don't know what that is. Is that an old English thing?
It's an old cartoon.
But not from
I'm
Coronation
trying to tie it
Street,
back to the last episode where we were talking about with Zegram.
Okay. But yeah, no, so like they all play the trumpet, they have heralds as they go into battle, and it's just and that's it. And yeah. And
Okay.
Games Workshop were like, this is just too much of a good idea.
We'll save this for when we need to
We'll
like do a
save
big
this when, like, say, like, in, like, 20 years, the Earth has started crumbling and people aren't spending money on miniatures anymore. We'll break out these guys.
What's that I can hear? What's that? Is that the sound of Michael's head hitting a desk?
I don't know. Is it? No, it's not. Never mind. Okay.
Thank
you.
In all seriousness, to try and answer the question, I like to think one of them was like aerial specialists, like just using mainly aircraft and stuff.
And they talk about underground warfare, amphibious naval warfare sort of thing.
Cool.
Would the burrowing ones all be like beaky wearing ones, so then they can use that to like drill?
Space moles.
Sadly not.
Space moles. Yeah, they were the space moles.
Yeah.
Somebody find out
They
the
just use
Latin
lightning
word for
force to dig
mole.
their tunnels.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, sadly Mark 6
I
helmets
know.
weren't introduced
I
until Late
know.
Crusade, but
But the
Good
funny thing
idea,
is, that Primark short story about Ferrus Menas has a Marine on the front cover in Mark 7 armour. I was like, what the fuck was that about? Who did the art for that?
wrong.
Who fucked up
Are you
there?
saying there's sometimes errors on the covers of
No.
the heresy books?
Yes, I mean,
Outrageous.
the Corex Primark novel, on the cover of that, they're all got Mark 6, even though this story takes place during the Great Crusade.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark 6 was Late Crusade, but yeah.
Well, the Raven Guard didn't get it until after the events of Istvan 5.
No, I thought they were the ones giving it to like prototype because Perturaba wanted them to not be any good using it, and they outmaneuvered some
Well,
Eldari
according to
to all hell, and
Deliverance
it
Lost, they got given the
implemented
armour after Istvan 5. And they were told, oh yeah, this is new, by the way.
I think it does. Doesn't it say
okay.
in the book that they do kind of say that they did have it in limited quantities to test it?
Yeah,
I'm sure it said that somewhere in
The
Deliverance
story
Lost. And so they would have had it before, but like being mass rolled out was in Deliverance Lost, I thought.
Yeah, what I remember is that it was developed and some people didn't like it. So Perturabo was like, yeah, let's just get this to be just die in a fire. Let's give it to the Raven Guard. They won't get any use out of it. It's just to prove it was so awful. And the Raven Guard then took it and used all its extra sensors and stealthy systems and outmaneuvered some Eldari. And it was like, hey, this works.
Perturabo was just shaking his
fucked
stupid
up again.
Well, that's his job.
Yeah. Okay. Question for me. What do you suggest for a Tau army?
Tau.
I was going to say orcs, but go off.
So, there are two sort of mindsets when it comes to playing Tau. There's playing Tau and there's playing Tau properly. If you're playing Tau, then... if you're playing Tau competitively, then you basically just spam Fire Warriors and spam heroes to support them. You're only allowed one commander per detachment, but that's fine. I saw a quite competitive, I believe, competitive list online, which is just Fire Warriors, Fire Warriors, Fire Warriors, Hammerheads. I think it had a Storm Surge, and it had a Commander, it had Ethereals, it had Dark Strider, and it was just a list that I looked at, I was like, ew, I never want to feel that in my life. The way I play Tau, and is probably quite bad, even with the chapter proof changes, is all that Battlesuit mayhem. That is the way I like to play my army with Farsight Enclaves. I won't use the 8 anymore. I played the 8. There's a battle report on my channel. They suck. Or at least I suck at playing them, so I probably shouldn't use them. But Crisis Suits got a lot cheaper in chapter approved. They got a lot of stratagems to support them, so that's the way I would play them, is Battlesuits, armoured vehicles, lots of troop transport, deep strike. That's the way I like to play. So that's
the reason the 8 sucked on the tabletop for you is because you didn't get the Tower Rangers to summon the Megazord.
Oh, this is true.
I'm actually pleased to know that there is at least more than one way to play Tau these days, because when
there's competitive,
because there's our mate Matt, who we do our podcast with. He used to play Tau, and he's looking to get back into the game when he comes. He lives in France currently. When he comes back to Britain, he's looking to get back into it, and he's got Tau already. So, because back when he was playing a lot back in 5th, there was basically one way to play Tau, and that was it, because otherwise they were just too bad. So, he'll be happy to know that...
Yeah, that changed in 6th.
Yeah, he'll be pleased to know that there is at least more than one way to play them now.
Yeah. Okay. So, with the way GW seems to be broadening out with things like 40k Monopoly and Munchkins and the various merch, do you think this trend will continue into things like bolter shell shot glasses and golden throne
You're talking as if we
bookends?
don't already have like official 40k licensed shot glasses. I have some in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I've got some as well. I got some for Christmas.
Yeah, I got some from PO Box. Got some like Space Wolf bowls. As well as like
mugs
as well. Mugs are great.
Because they did a bunch of
Space
stuff.
Wolf bowls dog bowls?
They kind of are.
I mean, I guess they are. I have like a dog bowl of breakfast every morning.
Yeah. There's loads. There's already
loads of stuff. They're branching out. There's like Forge World. Like I got a friend of mine bought me a old Space Wolf crest.
Yeah,
mug.
you got a pre-heresy Space Wolf mug.
And you can get like
Warhammer World.
you get like messenger bags and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean I kind of like it because I'm a big dum-dum who likes shiny things. So I just want to buy Sisters of Battle leggings and stuff.
Yeah.
While I'm having shots of dog food.
Yeah, they've really branched out over they've really branched out over the last couple of years to license 40k, especially 40k out with other things. I think is it Half Moon? It's not Half Moon Bay. That's a different thing.
Remember.
But there's a company that they've done most of this stuff through.
That's the company that does the leggings, isn't it?
That's Wild Bangerang or something.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember. They've kind of outsourced a bunch of it.
But yeah, they've licensed.
It's all very good stuff.
Yeah, they've licensed off the stuff to countless places now. So any idea you have will probably exist at some point at this time, which is, not a bad thing, because I remember being younger and being like, I'd really like a 40k t-shirt, and then it's like, oh, do they exist? Well, it's like, oh, well, if you go to this weekend or at Warhammer World this one time, then you can maybe pick one up.
Maybe.
Like, oh, okay, thanks. Yeah. Whereas now, you can just easily get them, and if you go to Warhammer World, there is tons of them now. There's loads of t-shirts you can
so
get.
many t-shirts.
And loads of just stuff.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, but so if you want your house to be covered in this nonsense, then you can do that now.
I mean, I just like the idea that I could be out and about and someone will just point at me and go, "Oh yeah, well, tell me every change that happened to the Space Wolves between 2nd and 3rd edition, you fake fan," and I can tell them to fuck off in person.
Yeah.
It sounds great. I need this.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. Considering that the Adeptus Mechanicus now has at least some access and understanding of Blackstone and how to use the stuff, is it possible that they're going to try to hard shut the webway gate on Terra with it? And if they do so, could this affect the Astronomicon and so on and so forth?
Interesting.
Because, for context, I think most of you should know this from Forgebane, etc. by now, but Blackstone is a material that can be polarized in two different directions. In one direction, it amplifies warp stuff, which is how the Blackstone fortresses work, and on the other side, it inhibits warp activity and basically shuts it down, which is how the pylons on Cadia worked.
Keyword being worked.
Past tense.
Ouch. But, yeah, so the sort of theory I think they're getting at in this question is the idea of building a pylon network almost around the Golden Throne to try and shut the Terran warp rift / webway portal thing that's all gone to shit, and thus freeing the Emperor up. But there's a risk there that if that inhibits the Emperor in any way, then you basically damage the Astronomicon.
It sounds like something that is one of those things where they go, well, it's theoretically possible, but the downside is that we might lose everything. So
I mean, I can figure out easy. You put one pro power stick next to him, and put one void power stick next to him, and just basically whatever wants it more. Because then he can be like, "Oh, I'm being emboldened by this big special energy stick," that's good.
And also the warp rift that I've been keeping closed for 10,000 years.
Yeah, but I mean, he's the Emperor. If he
checking
doesn't want to challenge, then I don't care.
I'm not thinking you've thought this plan through very much.
I definitely have. I've thought
I think
much.
I think you might have started talking before you even thought about it.
Okay, you've known me for a decade, and this is literally just how I talk.
I know.
But yeah, no, I'd say just make it interesting. Put the posi and the negative next to him and just watch what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah. I mean, you basically, Terra's basically fucked anyway. You might as well try something weird.
Yeah. Also, I actually learned the name of the Light Imperium today. The Imperium Sanctus. I actually didn't know it was called Imperium Sanctus on the Terran side of the cicatrix. I'd never read that anywhere.
Also, fun fact as well, the natural skin coloration of people on Terra is actually grey.
Okay, I did not know that.
What?
It's because literally there's no sunlight at all, and it's just orange smog
So they've all
everywhere.
got rickets and really pale skin.
So where's that from?
That's from Carrion Throne, which is set on Terra.
Interesting.
Okay.
Carrion Throne is a novel. Basically, it's like a detective story with an inquisitor trying to hunt down a killer.
Well,
on Terra.
it didn't mention any of this in the book Inquisitor, so I think you'll find.
Shut up.
No, but it did mention about the nipple rockets, though, didn't it? Or nipple lasers, sorry.
Let's just. I already
next
regret.
to Battenberg.
I already regret bringing it up.
Remleiz. Oh, good lord. Please.
Okay, next question.
Help me.
So in old editions, someone who's read an old codex will know this. Did the Necrons used to have a weakness for EMPs and magnets and stuff?
I don't
Not
remember
that
that being
off the top
mentioned.
of my head.
Because someone's asking you whether it got retconned, so
No.
I don't
Could
know if
that
they
have
used to
been
back
mentioned
the
in
old
their
days,
original second ed White Dwarf article?
It might have done,
Because
but
they-
I don't
Maybe.
recall off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, I can't remember that from the old codex, but I've not read through it in a while, so it might be yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it from third, or the third codex that I had. But it could be, but if they did retcon it, they retconned it almost immediately.
I mean, the
it's probably
Necrons have
best
been
answer,
through
yeah.
quite a few big changes over their time, so, it's safe to say anything that's to do with them that doesn't seem right now has probably just been retconned. Because, yeah, they've changed a lot. Especially from their early Blanchian covered in skulls era.
Or if you want to go really far back, back from their
rest
Chaos
in peace.
Androids.
Well,
days.
yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chaos Androids.
True.
Damn, Space Crusade was awesome.
Okay,
Space Crusade is rad. I wish they'd reprint it. Like, just the same one. I want it. I just want a nice copy of it because it costs so much to buy now.
So fun.
I genuinely love Space Crusade.
I actually did speak to... Well, I put a tweet about Space Crusade asking about it being reissued. And apparently it will never be reissued because the rights to it are held by Milton Bradley.
Yeah.
Though Advanced Space Crusade was still the rights are still held by Games Workshop.
Ooh.
So they could do Advanced Space Crusade.
I want it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a good game.
Because I mean,
the original mold has to have the original molds. Not new
they have to with the
resculpts.
grots that are just super long.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Dreadnought thing.
the weird Dreadnought because I've got a load of the models from it.
209s.
Yeah.
They're adorable.
It's so cute. The one we played was at a games cafe and it belonged to one of the owners. And every time we play, he comes over and he's like, "Oh, I painted these when I was 10. Sorry, they're shit." And we're like, "Yeah, they're really shit." And like on his like weird Chaos Dreadnought thing, he's got like 2 dots and a smiley face, like on the right on the
My
end of it.
absolute favourite part about
So
playing
good.
with the version that we play with at the Games Cafe.
Start that again.
The absolute favourite part is that it's missing the Gene Stealers, so whenever we play it and a Gene Stealer comes up, we have to use something else, and we usually use a grot that has bright pink trousers.
Because he's the Gene Stealer.
Because he has stolen someone's genes.
Yeah.
So that's our logic for it.
So he's got like a nice pair of tight drain pipes on.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, if someone's jeans are bright pink, they deserve to be stolen.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's fair, yeah.
Next question.
I suppose. Okay, this is going to get a bit into linguistics, so bear with me. Adeptus is a sort of gender male word. Adepta is the sort of female gender word. So why do we not use gender neutral for words such as like adeptum mechanicus because they're mixed? The reason for that is linguistics. So Gothic is based off of Latin. Ish.
Very ish.
Strong on the ish. And a lot of the Latin-based languages, things like French, German, etc., well, not German, French particularly is the one I'm going to use as reference, don't accommodate for gender neutral. So, for example, I'm sure if we were on the Xanthropod, Matt could back me up on this. French has il and elle for he and she, or him and her, and they do not have an it word or a they word. They have they plural, they masculine or they feminine, but they don't have just a completely gender neutral word. So if they want to talk about a group of people, they just default to the masculine. If they're talking about a thing they don't know what it is, they'll default to the masculine. There isn't a gender neutral word there. That's why Gothic, I assume, doesn't do it, because it doesn't have a root in its language of where it came from to build upon in order to work with it. That's my best guess, and I've seen that question come up a couple of times, and I was thinking about why, and the answer is probably just hidden in linguistics, as opposed to anything other than that. It's just linguistics.
See, I would have just said because it's all made up and no one thought about it that much, but that's a very good answer. Well done.
Yeah, this is the thing when you do languages as any sort of study, these things sort of like, you just get used to them.
Yeah.
So I'm just, and it is interesting because English is a mess of a language.
It is a catastrophe.
But it's a language that, as a result, is very accommodating because it literally has everything. So, and a lot of the purer languages, like French, as much as French has been anglicised in many places with many a word, they don't have the same core root of a language that allows them to be as flexible with certain terms, which is why this has happened. And I assume also it was the 1990s, and at the time nobody really cared about gender neutral. But that's
it's also like French is like a lot of other languages have gendered terms for items and objects as well.
Yeah.
So
so everything in French is
exactly. So
masculine or
that's like French is like all about that, and because basically exactly what Michael said. I also thought all of that as well. But no, good point.
Next question.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there a chance of, and I use this word loosely, a sort of loyalist Alpha Legion warband somewhere?
You mean they aren't already?
I thought they were.
I always thought the fun of the
Wink,
Alpha
wink,
Legion
yeah.
was that might be, that it is always possible for that to be a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, considering in Sons of the Hydra, the leader of the Alpha Legion warband is basically praying to the Emperor every day, so...
I think it's the sort of thing that you're probably unlikely to see manifested on the tabletop, but as like an official set of rules or anything. But it's something that you can you can have it, like if you want to just make a Space Marine army and have it as loyalists, Alpha Legion, then that's totally doable. And yeah, it's not like as if it's not supported by canon. It's yeah,
that's a good way of putting it. Okay, this is a bit of a random one. Could you see a Dreadnought sort of Inquisitor Tech Marine sort of thing? We have Librarian Dreadnoughts, so...
I hate Librarian Dreads so much.
Yeah, Inquisitor Dreadnoughts is BS, because Space Marines don't become Inquisitors, but it's interesting, a Tech Marine...
I think you'll find...
With very few exceptions.
Can we not forget Inquisitor Grimm, the Space Wolf Inquisitor who disguised himself as a Black Templar to fight Chaos-corrupted Black Templars from the Demonofuge comics?
Who could forget that guy?
And how did that get a head desk, Michael? This is canon.
because a lot of the canon deserves a head desk.
Okay, that's fair.
And also, Demonofuge is fucking awesome. Even if they did have that really fucked up...
Chaos Black Templars!
And also, don't forget, that comic also had that scene of the Slanesh sex, which was like all tentacles and going into the person's forehead and mouth, and it's like... What?
That's Giger as hell.
What indeed?
But to pull it dangerously back to the topic.
How dare you?
I would genuinely think like to see a sort of Tech Marine style Dreadnought. I mean, I don't care if it doesn't make much sense. I think you take like the general look of like an Ironclad Dread, and that already looks like it's halfway there anyway.
Yeah, and then you take out the maybe frag assault launchers and make them into, maybe not mechadendrites, but that's something like that, like rivet guns. You take the assault cannon arm and turn it into like a conversion beamer or some sort of welding gun, and then you take the power fist arm and maybe make it into more of a wrench type thing that you see on a servo arm, and boom.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think you could totally do it. Although
Yeah, I just think there'd be a bit of a clumsy mechanic.
I think the possibly the line where it would be too far is if you went for, say, an Apothecary Dreadnought, because no one really wants to have a medical exam done by a Dreadnought close combat weapon.
I mean, speak for yourself, but sure.
Giant syringe cannon.
I mean, the Librarian Dreadnought is just like got a punch dagger force sword. Just change that for like a syringe, and it's just like, no,
They have
keep
a
that as
little
far away
nurse's
from my
hat
Space
on.
Marines as possible.
It's a tiny little hat. And they've got the little, what they call the ring, the headpiece, the mirror thing that they have, doctors have on their head in
Orthodontologist
old
mirror.
things.
It starts with an O. I don't fucking
I always
know.
forget what they're called, but it's the old shorthand
The
for
medic
doctor.
hat from TF2.
Whatever they're called, it has one of those.
Has a little mirror.
Does it have
Very
the
good.
face mask as well?
Yes.
Yes,
Very,
obviously.
it's basically a bed sheet that they've tied some like elastic to, because it's very big.
Fair enough.
Sure. Okay, and last one, I think, looking at the time. So, speaking about the squats, since I think the squats came up last episode, do you believe that they're on their own version of Battlestar Galactica? You know, limited survivors of a species hunting for a planet, pursued by alien forces with infiltrators. I'm just saying.
I don't know if that's a thing that has happened, but I want it to
should
be.
happen.
Like that.
'Cause that's rad.
I don't care if it isn't true. It should be.
Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact that the squats have some sort of political system, considering that they sent ambassadors to Necromunda, along with the Eldari, to warn them about the Gathering Storm, the 13th Black Crusade, which makes me wonder why the fuck are the squats and the Eldari hanging around, because I thought the squats absolutely hated them. But anyway, but the fact that there's ambassadors running around means it must have some sort of, government somewhere.
I mean, yeah, you could having them as operating as a fleet, and that would sort of make that make sense. So
They're travelling the galaxy in a gigantic keg.
Sounds like a great time.
But yeah, I never really thought about it, but I genuinely really like that idea. That's my headcanon anyway now.
That's a good one.
Yep, thank you for that comment. And I think, just looking at the time, I think that'll be enough for questions for now.
Fair enough.
So yeah, is there any other remarks or topics that we didn't get to earlier because we got moved on to questions?
I was going to mention, because you mentioned about what people are reading at the moment. I'm currently reading through the Dawn of War C.S. Goto novel, which has taken me a long time.
He's doing this on purpose.
I'm doing it on purpose and everything.
No one's forcing him.
Why? We're still waiting for you to. We're still waiting for you to do the live stream. You know, of reading an Ian Watson novel.
Yeah, talking about the undulating flesh tit buildings.
I mean, on Twitter, I did do that thing saying like retweet if you want Wib to do a live stream reading the entire novel, and that was overwhelmingly
there was like a billion
positive.
retweets.
Yeah, but I've got to wait till I get sick enough that my voice becomes that horrible goblin voice again to do it.
Oh, just drink chocolate milk. So you're out.
Yeah.
But so I've been reading that, and I don't think it's as bad as people say, but I think that it is.
Is it still not good?
It is not up to the standard of that we expect from Black Library. So it's basically what people would. If you told someone who wasn't aware of the Black Library and you told them that Warhammer 40,000 has a spin-off novel series, Dawn of War is the level of quality they would expect it to be.
So basically, it's reading like fan fiction.
So is it
It's not great.
Better or worse than Who Dares Wins?
We're not getting into Who Dares Wins. We're not
Is
getting into.
Is it better or worse than Descent of Angels?
That's a good question.
Oh, that's actually a good question because Descent of Angels is way better written, but is way more boring. So that depends on your tolerances. But the other thing I read, because apparently this is just a theme, I read through the Dawn of War 3 comic that was put out.
The art in that is nice.
The art is really good.
Very good.
The
only thing I really
writing
know about that comic is there's like a bit that takes the piss out of Boreal.
Yeah, a little bit. They start talking about his voice, and then I think it's Tarkus and someone else just start laughing. So yeah, his voice is a bit, and then they just start laughing. But yeah, that's an interesting little comic. It's not very well written. It's so speeding through a non-entity of a story, because I'm assuming it was like, okay, you've got to quickly write something to...
Is it like the packing comics you get with toys sometimes?
Kind of.
God, I forgot about those.
Yeah.
What? Where it's like something's happening but nothing's happening at the same time.
Okay, Michael, back in the day, back many moons ago when we were all little babs... when you get sometimes when you get action figures, they'd come with a little like quarter-sized comic that would be just a terrible nothing happening in it comics. It'd be like 8 pages long. The equivalent now would be a lot of the Overwatch comics where nothing happens in them.
To be fair, there are things that happen, but nothing matters.
And yeah, it's sort of like that. It's really well drawn. There's actually a lot of really interesting artwork in it. Actually, fun if the person that sent it in, 'cause, just to say, I think it was Ever So British sent us Dawn of War, the thing, and Shanus sent us in the Dawn of War comic, which turned out actually was signed, it looks like, by the colorist, which I didn't realise because I was like, wait a minute, that looks like an actual signature. Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, it's an interesting little book. It's worth reading through if you have the opportunity to, but I also wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to read it either. But the art's cool, so that's always fun.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, Dawn of War 3... for all Dawn of War 3 got flack for its game choice design and whatever. That's here or there. That's your personal opinion. But its plot was... there.
It definitely had a
very
plot.
Much.
It was all over the place.
It had a plot, but yeah, it was just like, right, so there's a relic on this world and there's people who come to get it. Okay, that makes sense. There's some orcs led by some guy that we remember from the past. Okay, nice reference, thank you. There's some Eldari because it's an Eldari relic. That makes sense. And then there's some Space Marines because, of course, we have to have the Blood Ravens. It's Dawn of War. Okay, and they're going to have a bit of a fight now, and then they're all going to race for this relic, and wait, what? It's a warp open theme jib, and suddenly demons.
The final boss is a
and
bloodthirster for some reason.
And there's a bloodthirster, and then the orcs somehow get to the relic, and they all teleport away, and then they destroy the world by throwing a fucking battle barge at it. Like, you're a chapter master, you have the ability to issue exterminators, what are you doing? And
He was just cheaping out on the insurance.
I think it says a lot. I think it says a lot that I have not beaten that game, and having the plot spoiled for me means nothing to me. Because I know I'm never going to do it, because I just feel nothing about the game. However, I do kind of like it got orcs vaguely right. Like, the way they behave is kind of fun a lot of the time.
I thought Gorguts's grapple arm was a bit funny.
I don't know. I love his design. I really like it. However, it really didn't have to do much to be better than we just took Gazkul but put some heads on spikes to, because his old design was just Gazkul. So having a new one that actually is really distinct and unique, I really liked.
And then they...
Yeah, and they've actually recycled that idea onto the Deathkiller Wartrike, because that was like a grapple thrower. And
then they tease, Necron DLC that will never come.
Oh, yeah. The future of Dawn of War does not look good.
Basically, what they did with Dawn of War 3 is that they took StarCraft 2 and made it worse.
It was just that I think that we're trying to please a lot of different people with the same thing and ended up pleasing none of them.
Exactly, yeah.
But hey, Battlefleet Gothic got an Art Mechanicus in it.
I wish... I've not really played much of Battlefleet Gothic. I wish I liked it more than I did. But it's just not a game for me.
I wish my machine could run it.
Yeah, fair.
My machine can barely run Dawn of War 2.
Oh,
dang,
dear.
dude. Yikes. How are you alive?
I almost feel like we should send our old broken graphics card to you, because that'd be an improvement.
It's because I only have an HP Pavilion laptop.
Oh
no.
You have my sympathies, man.
That reaction.
So if you'd like to send me a new machine, please send it to...
Just write Remleiz / dash the UK. It'll figure its way out.
You'll get there
It'll get there eventually.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to mention about the Dawn of War comics and things.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Just thought I'd ask. Anything else from anyone?
I was going to mention Ian Watson, but...
Yeah, just for a joke.
But even then,
I was going to mention Battenberg.
Okay, that's not even...
We'll just get those perfunctory things, out of the way. Battenberg, Ian Watson,
Robert Patrick's
Ian Watson fetish, Battenberg novel.
Just get it out of the way. I will say...
Ian Watson is such a sex goblin. You know that he'd build a house out of bricks of Battenberg like an absolute heathen.
Yes. I will say I do really appreciate that you have allowed us to come on the podcast once again, not least because of our past history of
never behaving properly,
but also because you've allowed us to maintain our record of being in roughly 10% of all of the Adeptus Podcastus episodes.
He did the math. He did the monster math.
I was like, wait a minute, how many times have we... Okay, cool. That's a thing we can say now. So, thank you.
Yes, I think it's Thunder or Dr. White in second place or something.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just have to kill him.
We can't let anyone take over.
No, I'm afraid
if Dr. White one of those times was uninvited, we just turned up. Completely drunk.
That was brilliant. It was just like we were talking with Thunder. It's like, I watched White just walk in, and he knocked on the door 2 minutes later.
It wasn't even that long. It was about 10 seconds later.
Yeah, it was so soon after. We were just dying.
And then Dr. White drank the food colouring.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's good. That's what you want.
And yes, a video does exist of it.
I was not aware of that.
And no, you should not watch it.
I kind of want to more now that you've told me not to watch it.
Now it's forbidden fruit.
Forbidden food colouring, one might say. I was hoping for a head desk there.
Funnily enough, speaking of food colouring, Fresh, Zegram and Dr. White said they all want to come on here and do like a food colouring shot drinking challenge Ian Watson game thing. So whenever someone mentions anything about Ian Watson, take a shot of food colouring. And Fresh wants every single colourer.
Should I just decide to be ill that episode? I'll just decide to be ill.
I think everyone will call in sick that day.
To your madness.
Or, you know, if you need someone to bulk out the order, I'm happy to talk about Ian Watson anytime.
Are you, though?
No.
Yeah.
But I feel
Well,
as someone who's actually...
Ian Watson's Battenberg.
Yeah, I feel that as someone who's actually read through it and feels the internal rage at him as a writer, it's sort of my duty to always be someone to call him a horrible little sex goblin.
Okay. But
Sounds like a term of endearment.
you've also got to drink like 14 litres of like food colouring as well. Which I'm pretty sure would turn your enamel on your teeth like pink or something.
Quite possibly.
Because it's either food colouring or it's blood.
I think we should let Michael say his thing so that we can wrap it up.
I was just going to say, and on that bombshell, to try to segue to the end
This
of
must
this program
die.
out of hand.
I mean, speaking of bombshell, imagine the colours when it hits your toilet. But anyway.
Oh, bloody hell. It'd be like a bath bomb, basically.
Oh, it's fizzing and everything.
That's how fucking unwell you'd be.
Michael, take us away from this place.
Remleiz has to do the outro, that's the problem.
I have the power.
I know, and you're going to abuse it for the ruination of this episode.
Oh, fine, and I'll wrap it up then. So, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this episode of Adeptus Podcastus, and thank you once again to Snipe and Wib for joining us this week.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. So, until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Tactica Imperialis.
And this has been, like, Thunder Psyker and Fresh. Snipe and Wib, thanks for listening.
And we'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye.